Star Wars is a franchise of dualities like the Duel of the Fates. I can't think of another series that has such a disparity between its highest highs and its lowest lows. But thankfully for gamers, no matter how low the low lows go, they're always actually pretty high. We get the chance to use the Force, use lightsabers. It's an entire game base built on power fantasy. You get to make your own moves and feel really cool while doing it. But there's one Star Wars game that strips that all away. You're not some cool guy bursting through crowds of droids or clashing sabers with the baddies, but instead you play as someone that represents how 99% of this universe would feel. Star Wars Republic Commando has you play as the leader of a clone squad called RC-1138, also known as Delta 38, also known as Boss. And you go through a bunch of the prequels' most iconic locations and meet some of the most iconic characters. You get to meet Jar Jar Binks, Jar Jar Binks, Jar Jar Binks. You even get to meet Jar Jar Binks. Though you are genetically engineered for combat, Boss is not a unique within the galaxy. He is one soldier among millions. This grounded perspective fundamentally alters the tone of the experience that you're playing, and it's not really a side of Star Wars that you get to see all too often. Instead of effortlessly dominating enemies, the player must approach every fight in this game with caution, and you have to play it slow quite a lot of the time. Your shields get shredded so quickly, health does not magically regenerate, and the enemies are relentless. The melee based ones will just keep chasing you, and ranged ones will actually move into the best positions to spray you down. It can get surprisingly visceral too. You go up and melee an enemy and you get blood spattered all up your visor before it's washed away by clone trooper window wipers. There's definitely been some hard-hitting gory imagery in the other Star Wars games, but I can't think of many at this level of being quite literally in your face. Another way that the game reinforces this vulnerability aspect is through the squad-based mechanics. Success in the level depends not on any individual member of the gang you're in, but on coordination and strategy. You have to issue commands to squad mates, you have to assign them positions, set them up breaching doors, either loudly with explosives or silently by hacking the door controls. You tell them who to focus fire on, you tell them what formation to move with. You have to think strategically about the best way to get through a group of enemies while simultaneously maintaining their survival. When a squad member gets downed in battle, the loss is immediately felt mechanically. If you have someone that's laying down sniper fire and they get downed, you can immediately tell because the damage output from the squad dramatically lowers. Reviving a teammate under heavy fire ends up becoming this risk-reward calculation. This reliance on teamwork mirrors the reality of military operations that other games were also starting to incorporate to their titles at the time, and adds a layer of authenticity that I don't know if we've seen in the franchise since.
Republic Commando has tried to really focus in on the military aspect of Star Wars and get that sense of realism in the game.
All of this combines to create a gameplay system where you don't feel especially powerful, and a lot of the time I just ended up winning battles feeling lucky. I only played this game on normal, and that was difficult enough. That constant sense of danger and being able to die at any moment transforms each firefight into this tense, tactical engagement that is really fun to get stuck into. It's not just the immediate controls that give you this smaller than everything around you scale, but the levels that you're fighting through as well. Like I said, you visit some iconic locations from the prequel era, such as Geonosis and Kashyyyk, but always from the ground level. You get to experience the Clone Wars, but not as they're normally depicted as these grand, sweeping cinematic moments that are centered on Jedi heroics. Instead, you get to experience them as a fucking brutal, chaotic conflict. You'll be riding in a ship, then all of a sudden you'll fall down this random garbage tube and then...
Changing visor mode. What the? You've got to be kidding.
Enemies that we've seen time and time again in the series become actually tangible threats. Those stupid battle droids that you chop through in most of the other games are now these tall, imposing death machines that you need to focus on or you'll be wiped out almost immediately. Something that other squad-based shooters have to do well, and this game also succeeds in, is humanizing its protagonists. Now, normally clones are just clones, you don't really need to think about who they are, but Delta Squad members possess such distinct personalities expressed through dialogue and banter. It fosters this real sense of care for one another. They aren't just these faceless dudes in white, but they're individuals that are shaped by the hardship that they all share. And when one of them gets the short end of the stick, I actually did give a shit and got angry. This characterization deepens the emotional weight of the missions, particularly as the war intensifies and you go through these sections where you're split apart from each other and enemy hordes become more and more dangerous. That sense of loyalty and identity given to the individual members really helps with connecting to the horrific shit you go through in this game as a group. I think ultimately what makes Star Wars Republic Commando the greatest Star Wars game is its commitment to perspective. Sure, there are other elements I haven't even spoken about that make it good, like the John Williams tracks and the level design, but the perspective is what makes this game so good to me. By removing the power fantasy that defines so much of the franchise, the game offers something way more immersive from a perspective that I don't think is explored as often as it should be on the gaming side anyway. By putting you in the boots of a ground clone trooper instead of a Jedi, the game shows a side of Star Wars that feels raw and real. You're not some superhero with telekinesis, you're just a soldier trying to make it through the mission with your team alive, and somehow that grounded perspective is what makes the experience so much more powerful.
An elegant weapon for a more civilized time, huh? Well, guess what? Times have changed.